This is called Guess the Line.
You know there are some things that money can't buy.
Like what?
So what is the next line of this scene? A dinosaur? B, a good life? Or C, someone who finds your hick ass attractive? Hey guys, what's going on? Jeff Porter from Cinema Reactor. Today we're taking a dive into kind of the strangest movie I could find. I was on Tubi TV, as one does, and I kind of just wanted to find like the craziest thing I could find. And since we just had Halloween, I thought we'll find a weird kind of horror film. Found a weird one. I found a really weird one. The Bunnyman Massacre. Little did I know this is actually a sequel. Thankfully, it's not a television show that I thought was a movie this time. So The Bunnyman Massacre is a film from 2014. It's a sequel to The Bunnyman that came out in 2011. According to IMDb, bodies pile up as Bunnyman indiscriminately slaughters anything that crosses his path in a mutually beneficial relationship that gives Joe plenty of beef jerky to sell at his local store. Yes, human beef jerky at the local store. That's not even the craziest part. Bear with me. So right off the bat, right at the beginning of this film, we see this bunny costumed figure stop a school bus full of kids. He walks onto the bus after shooting the driver and slaughters all of these kids. It's pretty, it's something I will give the film. They're not afraid to do anything. There's a lot of strange stuff that happens in this movie. It kind of takes me back to Hobo with a Shotgun with Rutger Hauer. There's a school bus scene in that as well. Both of them make my stomach churn, even though, you know, I love horror movies. I love gore. I love the violence. But anytime you see something like that, it just kind of upsets you a little bit. But that's how this movie starts off. Like, they just throw you right into it. And then from there, it just gets very strange. So this is probably something that was set up in the previous film. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe we'll go back and watch that sometime. But this bunny man is like in cahoots with this guy who runs a local, I thought it'd be like a gas station. I guess it's more of like just a small general store where they sell beef jerky from the people that they've killed. They make beef jerky out of them. I don't know if their relationship extends past that, or if this is just kind of where the movie throws us in at, but immediately off the bat, it's a very strange relationship. We find out that the Bunny Man, he takes off his mask, I think 2 times in the movie, and each time we see his face and everything, and it's very Freddy Krueger-like. It looks like he's been terribly misformed. It burns everywhere. So again, I don't know if that's something that's covered in the first film, but yeah, there's something strange going on. But basically their whole relationship is the bunny man goes out and kills the people for him. He's kind of, it seems like he's kind of socially distant. He doesn't quite know how to communicate with people. I don't know if that's because of the burns or whatever happened. But Joe just kind of bosses him around, makes fun of him, mocks him all the time, and basically just uses him to get women. They kidnap a bunch of women to do the terrible things with before killing them. But they like to play this game of like cat and mouse. And so Joe will actually release a lot of them just for like the thrill of the hunt. And he even kind of talks about it in the movie, how he kind of enjoys the hunt more than like actually that stuff. So almost immediately after we see the school bus scene and we kind of set up some of the characters, we're kind of thrown into kind of the stereotypical horror genre, people camping out in the woods. Bunny Man comes, and again, this is a very brutal film. Like, for as silly and stupid as it is, and we're going to get into the stupid parts. For as silly and stupid as it is, though, there's a lot of really brutal on-screen kills here that are just very reminiscent of other films. It seems like obviously they're very heavily inspired by Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's a bit of, you know, Jason in here. There's a scene where one of the campers, he gets them in their sleeping bag and bashes them into a rock a bunch of times. Kind of reminds me of I think it was Freddy vs. Jason. Jason does that. But I mean, this is not going to brush over the poor production value and everything else with the film. I mean, this is a terrible film, but I will say that the violence and everything, they don't hold back from. So immediately what kind of struck me is I mean, for as many people as we've seen be killed, people keep going back to this area. I can't imagine that this is very widespread. I imagine this is a very local situation. And you think after the school bus, the however many campers, people will just be like, you know what? Let's just take a trip down to Florida or something. I don't really feel like going out there. But no, they go hiking. Why? I don't know, because it's a horror movie, nothing makes sense. So the main kind of, I guess they're like the main two characters that we're supposed to care about that we care nothing about. Neve Campbell and the other one. They are separated from their friends in the beginning. Their two friends get killed, which I don't think they find out through the rest of the movie. They end up getting caught by the Bunnyman. They end up getting caught by the Bunnyman, and he takes them back to Joe, and they string him up. And Neve Campbell like convinces Joe to be like, "Hey, yeah, I totally saw some more hikers out there. I'll bring him back to you. We can do a little swapsies." And he's cool with it.
Mama didn't raise no fool.
So she ends up selling out these 3 random people to be murdered just so her and her friend can leave, and they end up, spoiler alert, they don't even make it. Thankfully, though, there seems to be some semblance of intelligence in this film, as there's one lone sheriff who's like, "Hey, a bunch of people keep disappearing around here, and even my deputies. I think I should go look around." So he finds his way into Joe's general store, starts asking around, asking him some questions. Of course, nothing gets answered. Eventually, Neve Campbell and the other one escape. They make it out to the road, and they come across the sheriff. Thank goodness. Everything's going to be all right. The sheriff goes off, and he's like, there's a gun with 2 bullets in there in my car. Why don't you go sit in there? Why is there 2 bullets in that gun? I have no idea. So he goes off into the woods, and who does he come across but Joe? So they have a little standoff, and they both pull their guns, and the sheriff, first of all, gets shot like in the shoulder, like a pretty clean shot right in the shoulder. It doesn't look like he's going to die from it. But for some reason, he like starts coughing up and giving his best death scene that he could ever come up with. He's like, "Yeah, doesn't get any better than this." And Joe comes over and starts gouging out his eyes because Joe likes to inflict pain on people, he says. But the sheriff ends up finding his gun and getting a shot off on Joe. Cut to the Bunnyman, who's coming back after just killing Neve Campbell and the other girl because they were sitting in a truck and didn't drive away. Bunnyman comes back, and Joe tells him to kill him. And Bunnyman does, because Joe's kind of a dick. Even between them, he's definitely the worst one. So Bunnyman kills him. The sheriff is dead. The 2 girls are dead. And then we get the end shot, which is something out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original film at the end. Instead of swinging everything around, though, it's just the Bunnyman walking off into the sunset. And apparently there's a 3rd film, which now I'm very interested in because I want to know what the hell happens next. I want to know if they're all connected, if there's like years apart between them. I want to know, like, I need more to this story here. So that's essentially the whole thing, like, in a nutshell. I didn't really leave much out. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of freaking shots of the moon in the sun. I think there's probably a good 4 dozen stock footage shots of like the moon and the sun setting and rising. I like every transition shot had to be the moon. The sound levels were all over the place. It would go from very quiet to like yelling in your face. But I mean, that's classic, low budget horror film stuff. So I was kind of okay with it. It is kind of distracting though. And my favorite stuff is when low budget horror films, the people are on the ground supposed to be dead and they're laying there going like this, moving their eyes around and going, like, you're supposed to be dead. Stop. Come on. They're paying you. You can pretend to be dead. My kids do it every time I ask them to do a chore. This movie has a feeling of, because like all the reactions from all the characters and stuff are so mild for the situation that they're in. Like one of the girls sees her friend eye get drilled through and she just like, it's just a blank stare like, oh. It was like there's no reactions from any of the characters. It just has this feeling like the people shooting the film were like, yeah, guys, we got my grandparents' farm. We can shoot at it. Isn't that awesome? But we got to be really quiet, guys. So for the reaction shots, I just want you guys to kind of, do this. And of course, the ending is just, I kind of talked about the ending where he kind of walks off into the sunset, but the entire reason he gets to walk off into the sunset is because Neve Campbell didn't shoot him. She shot herself. She shot herself. She was right from me to you. She had a gun. He had a chainsaw. He was walking. She was backing up. All she had to do was shoot him and run.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. If you shoot him, you'll just make him mad.
That's it. And she just turns the gun on herself and that's it. She kills herself. I don't understand. Like, I know in horror movies, characters are supposed to be dumb, but these people take home the prize. They are the dumbest people I think I've ever seen in any movie ever. But that gets us to a game that I wanted to start playing. This is my favorite one. This is called Guess the Line.
You know there are some things that money can't buy.
Like what?
So what is the next line of this scene? A dinosaur? B, a good life? Or C, someone who finds your hick ass attractive?
A dinosaur.
I'm still trying to figure out what the hell that line means. I have no idea. Okay, so before we get out of here, I do want to mention, because this says based on a true story, so I just wanted to clear this up because this is kind of a bit of an urban legend that is interesting. I will give it that. But just so you kind of understand what based on a true story means. So kind of the genesis of this is in Northern Virginia in the 1970s. There was a couple sitting in their car when somebody threw a hatchet at their car, which is, I mean, that's absolutely terrifying. But when they looked over, they saw this person that was all dressed up and they had something on their head. So this something on their head became bunny ears. Through the telephone game, people kind of started telling the story, telling this and that, and throughout people telling the story, it just kind of morphed into this evil bunny character. And so that's kind of where the genesis of the urban legend comes from, and why this film says based on a true story. This is probably one of the craziest movies that I've watched on Tubi. I've watched a lot of stuff on there, but this one kind of takes the cake just because of the poor production, the bunny man character, and kind of drawing from that urban legend. And I mean, the kills and stuff are just very brutal, and they're not afraid to go places. So I think it's definitely worth a watch, though, honestly, like just to see what it's all about. So definitely head over to Tubi, check it out. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on Friday.